Hi guys, this is Meenu. Welcome back to my channel Storytale. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favorite short stories of all time. These are the short stories that I've read when I was a little kid. I have not read any new short story lately and I have not also seen many people read it. I think the trend of short story is gone. Though it's a shame because a short story tells a lot with just few words and I think that is just amazing. I really wish I read more short stories in the future, but anyway, let's talk about the ones that I've already read and I've already loved. So now without wasting any more time, let's get into the video. The short stories on my list are basically classics and the first one is The Last Leaf by O. Henry. This is the one of my favorite short stories of all time. I have read it when I was a little kid and I'm gonna say that a lot because all of the stories I've read when I was a little kid. I remember when I first read it and I fell in love instantly. I'm pretty sure that was the first story that made me fall in love with English literature. The story with few words says a lot. I really love this. The story is about love, compassion, sacrifice, finding one's true purpose in life. I just love everything about this book. The story is about Sue and Johnsy who are friends and live together in New York City. Pneumonia is very frequent in the city and it has already taken many lives, and when Johnsy fell sick, she feared the same. Sue was very worried and she tried all her best. She even consulted a doctor who said that even though pneumonia is a very deadly disease, it is still gonna be curable if she has the will to live. But Johnsy has given up any hope to live. She has no willpower at all. All day she lays on the bed and watches out through her window at this ivy plant which is withering and cold just like her. Losing all her hope, she says, when the last leaf from that ivy plant falls, she's gonna die too. That made Sue very sad and she confided the same in their elderly neighbor who is very friendly and very kind to them, Mr. Behrman. Mr. Behrman was again a very poor artist and he has been trying to create a masterpiece for a very long time, and he was very friendly and very kind to their neighbors Sue and Johnsy. He had a loving relationship with them. When he heard that Johnsy has given up on her will to live, he became very sad, and after that what he did is the greatest act of human kindness that you'll ever read. I'm not gonna spoil this book for you, so I'm not gonna say what he did, but what he did is something that you should actually read. It was just the most beautiful thing ever. When I read it, I was very intrigued that how much a short story can hold. It was such a beautiful way of storytelling. I was absolutely in awe with this story. This is my favorite short story of all time. I have kept it in my heart for a very long time, and that is why I was very excited when the movie Lutera came. This movie was inspired by this story and I was really excited to watch it. But of course I was kind of disappointed. I mean, acting of Ranveer Singh was good, but I didn't like the changes that they did. I didn't like the story that much because they changed it so much. Even the ending was not that good for me. But anyway, I just love the story and I'm gonna cherish it forever. The second short story on my list is The Happy Prince by Oscar Wilde. This is again the story that I read when I was in school, and again I fell in love with the story because it was so good. The Happy Prince by Oscar Wilde again holds a very beautiful story of love, friendship and sacrifice. In a little town which I do not remember the name of stood a golden statue named the Happy Prince. Everyone who passes by the statue admires its beauty, how it was stunningly studded by these precious stones. The sword's hills were made with ruby and the eyes of the prince was made of blue sapphire. One day a swallow who was separated from his friends rest under the statue while he was going to Egypt for summer. While he was resting, few drops of water fell on his head and he looked up to see the Happy Prince crying. He asked the statue why he was crying because he looked so happy. He replied that while he was alive, he was not aware of the pain of the city. He was always behind his huge walls and he always thought that his kingdom was very happy. Now that he is dead and he overlooks the city, he realizes that there's so much pain that he was not aware of. That makes him sad and that is what makes him cry. He asks the birds help in order to help the people of the city. After that, he gives the swallow his precious stones and precious gold in order to provide help to the poor. The story is again very beautiful. It was not just the sacrifice of the Happy Prince but also the sacrifice of the swallow. It was getting colder day by day and he needed to go to Egypt for summer, but still he stayed in order to help these people. Again, this story packs a punch. It's such a beautiful ending. I loved it. I'm not gonna say it to you. I'm gonna ask you to read it because this is such an amazing experience. I always wonder at short stories how so few words can contain so much. I've always struggled with writing short stories. I've never been able to write one. I do not know. I don't think I am capable of it. But authors who wrote short stories, I really admire them because it takes a lot to tell a story with so few words. The third short story on my list is Kabuliwala by Rabina Tagore. This one you can read either in Hindi, in Bengali or in English. It's gonna be beautiful anyway. I read it in English and I absolutely fell in love with it. I'm pretty sure I read this when I was a little kid, but of course I did not remember it that much. I just remember the word Kabuliwala, but the whole story I could not recall. So I reread it again and again I loved it. The story is about this innocent relationship between a Kabuliwala and a 5-year-old girl Minnie. Kabuliwala is a street vendor who comes from Kabul and brings raisin and dry fruits in order to sell to India. The story is based in Calcutta, which is now Kolkata, also the place where I live. Of course, the story holds a special place for me because I love the whole feeling of nostalgia. The story is told from the point of view of Minnie's father. He really admired the innocent relationship between his 5-year-old and the Kabuliwala. He was also a little bit jealous of the kinship that they shared. They used to laugh together. He would bring raisins and nuts for her. They would have this secret joke about father-in-law house, which actually made him a little bit jealous, but still he did not mind the relationship. The story is not only about the beautiful relationship but also the helplessness of Minnie's father when he finds Kabuliwala arrested. He knows that the Kabuliwala is innocent, but there's nothing much he can do. He knew how the society works and he is an average father. He has a family to look after, and even though he sees the injustice of the world, there's nothing much he can do. This again is a very heart-touching story. You feel bad for the Kabuliwala. You feel bad how he has not been able to see his daughter for years because he was in jail for something that he has not done. You feel the unfairness that is done to him, and that is where this story tugs at your heart. This is again writing at its best, and how it cannot be. This is by Rabina, Tagore, who is one of the greatest poet and writer of all time. If you have not read any short stories by him, I highly recommend this one. The first story on my list is The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. This is a very different story from all the other stories that I have listed here. This is a very unique story and I absolutely loved it. It has such an amazing way of telling the story that I was in awe of it. It is told from the point of view of murderer. What was his thought process just before committing the crime and what was his thought process after that. I loved how creepy it was, how chilling it was. I loved the whole vibe of it. I loved how time played in this story. The tick and the talks, the beating of the hearts, everything was just written beautifully. It was an amazing and different experience altogether. It was just a story in motion and I loved that. It does not have a very big story. It does not have much to talk about, so I'm not gonna give you much because I do not want to spoil it for you. But of course, I recommend it highly because this is a reading experience that you're gonna love. The fifth and last story on my list is A Journey Through Nostalgia. The story is The Night Train at Deoli by Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond is my favorite Indian author of all time. I love his stories. I have been reading his short stories for a very long time. His way of storytelling is very beautiful. I really admire him. And this story is so short and so nostalgic that I love it. The story is about first crush, infatuation, first love, and that stranger across the room. It makes you feel so many emotions. It makes you feel nostalgic. It makes you think about the first love that you had, the first time you felt that young and innocent love. It makes you feel again so many emotions, and I absolutely love this. Every summer the author goes to Dehradun to visit his grandmother, and between the stations there comes the station of Deoli, where he meets this stranger girl who is very beautiful, who sells baskets on the station, and he instantly falls in love with her. This was not some great epic love. It was the first love that you feel, that infatuation, and he just fell in love with her instantly by seeing her, and he craved to see her more. He wanted to talk to her more, but he could not do much about it because he was again a shy, and it was not an epic love. He didn't want to do anything extra. He just wanted to admire her from afar. They have this interesting meet and conversation every time he visits his grandmother in summer, but other than that it does not go to anything much else. And one day when he cannot find her at the station, he does not do anything about it. He does not get off the train. He does not go on looking for her because he also realizes that it was just an infatuation. It was not something a great love story, but was just an infatuation that he felt. That is again what makes this story very beautiful because it does not talk about epic love but about that infatuation, that attraction that you felt, that attraction that we felt. The emotion that it wakes while reading this story is the best part of the experience. Again, I'm going to recommend this because this is such an amazing read. And of course, I recommend all the books that I've listed here because all of them are great books. Everyone are unique and different in their own way. Again, it tells a very beautiful story with such a few words. It's not going to waste much of your time. It's not going to even take hours. It's going to just take minutes of your time. And I think you can spare that because it's such an amazing experience. So these were my favorite short stories of all time. All of them are very close to my heart. All of them are very special to me. And if you have any short stories that you love or you want to recommend it to me, do let me know in the comments down below. And of course, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe and click that bell icon if you want to get notified of my videos. Until then, please keep reading.